I wonder what it was that made me want you. She couldn't understand what made me hard. She's climbing in and out my open window. I'm laying here alone and cold and drained. Yeah. So take another breath and come up for your oxygen. And now you wanna kiss the flesh and blood of every man, every man. And when the moon is full and the wolves will howl, she swam across the lake just to get to my house. Yes. And she said, I want more. Give me more. Disgusting stuff. I want more. A little bit of. Give me more. Disgusting stuff. Disgusting stuff. She looks upon a world that's dark and tangled. I never saw her turn her head in shame. She's climbing in and out the open window. I'm lying here alone, cold and gray. So take another breath and come up for your oxygen. Hey, you know you wanna kiss the flesh and blood of every man, every man. Well, we all took turns and it's one of the world. I never realized they said with us, man. And she said, I want more. Give me more disgusting stuff. A little bit of disgusting stuff. Disgusting stuff. Oh, you're making me stop.
Giottos are so good. These chocolates are what? Chocolates? We're here about astrophotography. What are we doing? Wrong video. Whoops.
All right. Where did my color go? Got your head in the sand. You can't be in control, using a powerful hand. I wanna be you, I wanna see you. Don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to tell me, don't try to say it's too late. You're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shoes. taught to love. We've got to learn to wait. I wanna see, I wanna be, don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late. You're gonna push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shadows. Push me to the edge, hide a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue. Yeah. I wanna be, I wanna see, don't taste the kisses of hate. Don't try to tell me, don't try to sell me, don't try to say it's too late. Push me to the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shadows. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Yeah, black and white and blue. You're gonna black and white on the edge, back me in a corner, making me stand in your shadows. Push me to the edge, add a little color, it's black and white and blue. Black and white and blue. What the hell's wrong with my telescope now? Damn, what's wrong with this thing? The lost Lone Ranger, can I break this spell? One thing right, who I may choose to things wrong. If I want that fine line, who I will always take the fall. If I just do them, I can live from the right. I sleep all day long, and I'm breathing through the night. I've seen a lot of bankers, and I've seen a lot of cops. I've seen a lot of lawyers pull out all the stops. I've seen a lot of children with their parents in their hands. I've felt a lot of women refuse to understand. Well, I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take the world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. You see it in the papers, you read it every day. The riots and the fires going on in South LA. The muggers and the government, they're all wanting the same thing. They take you for your money, I would every spring. And I don't think I understand why we're making such a fuss. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Players Planet. Take me. And I don't think I understand what's come of all of us. And I don't think I understand why we take this world for granted. I just want to get right back to Guitar Plays Planet. 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 Guitar Plays Planet.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Oh wow, look,
What's
look,
up,
it's the right
everybody?
names and everything. Oh wow, like so far so good.
Nice.
It's only 6 minutes late, so I'm guaranteed to screw something up over the next hour and a half. So welcome everybody. We are here tonight with a unexpected special guest. We have Chris Montemayor from Takahashi, America, coming to hang out with us for a little bit and talk a little tack and find out what's going on and what he's up to, because this is his first appearance on AstroWorld TV. Eric and I both have met him a couple times via NEEF and NEAC and all that. So really good guy. Looking forward to talking to him. Something's banging around in my. I don't know. You heard that? I don't know.
You got bats in your belfry?
I heard something.
I think it's the laundry.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, and also, let's see what's tonight. So, a picture of the week is rolling, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, and we have quite a few of
Yes,
the
we do.
entrants are from the Winter Star Party.
Oh,
We have
one of my bucket list places
of the entrants that people took from the Winter Star Parties, and they're very cool. So we have more, and thankfully, I appreciate this. We have more than one entrant in our novice category.
Yes,
you know, there are two entrants, and they are both very good. So looking forward to you guys checking all those out at AstroWorldWeb.com/IOTW. And yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff. Real quick, I had no idea, and I don't know. I recently subscribed to Sky and Telescope, right?
Okay.
So I just realized, reading the February edition, I believe, that Beverly Lenz passed away a couple months ago. And
I did not know that.
Yeah, and for those who don't know who Beverly Lenz is, she is an
LDN,
astronomer and astrophysicist who cataloged the dark nebula, and that's where you get dark nebula as well as bright nebula.
Oh, it's LBN
and
LBN.
Yeah, you have LBN for Lenz Bright Nebula,
and LDN,
and
right?
LDN for Lenz Dark Nebula. You know, and that way she did quite a bit of her work at UC Berkeley and in Palo Alto and everything. And great pioneer, woman.
Very
pioneer,
unsung. I mean, a lot of people probably don't know that.
So.
Yeah, so that's a shame.
My condolences to her family, but thank you, Beverly, Mrs. Lenz, for what you've given us. Some really awesome information and really awesome
Yep.
catalogs that we can go, and image and visualize and stuff like that. So yeah, I just wanted
And
to
just
shout
on
that out.
another note that very unsung passing, my condolences to Mahomes and the Chiefs. So I'm not a football fan, but you know what? I always love seeing the guy that wins lose every once in a while.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I will say they took it graciously. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they
took it graciously,
basically
but,
admit that they got their butts.
yeah, they
Oh,
got
oh
slammed.
yeah, they
That defense
got
destroyed
their
them.
butts whooped.
That
Yeah.
the Bills
And
will
who- and-
Bills will never make it again to the play to the. They've been embarrassed 4 in a row.
They
I
got
know-
4 in a
at the
row.
Super,
Yeah.
at the Super Bowl.
Four
Twice
Super
by the-
Bowls in a row,
once by-
twice by the
once-
Giants.
All 4 times by an NFC East team.
Yep.
Once the Giants, twice the Cowboys, and once the Redskins.
Oh, that's right. It was twice
Yep.
the Cowboys. That's right. But
Yep.
hey,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I
Sorry,
didn't want,
Taylor.
Yeah, she got booed.
So
Shake
Anyway.
it off.
All right. So why don't we get down to business here? We got Chris from Takahashi waiting in the wings over here. Why don't we bring him in?
Yes, let's bring him
And
in. Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure he's waiting. He's been waiting there patiently for the past 5 minutes. So let's bring him in. There we go.
Hello. Hi, guys. My name is Chris Montemayor.
Hey.
I work for Takahashi America. I am the current American factory representative for Takahashi Telescopes here in the United States. I have the job that Art and Fred used to have. Unfortunately, Fred passed away a few months ago, and Art passed away several months ago in the middle of last year. So I feel really honored and lucky to kind of get to carry on the tradition that they started of bringing these telescopes to the United States. I'm charged with answering questions about our products for the consumers, for our dealers, and then doing direct customer support. Our company is a very traditional Japanese company, and they do believe that we should provide a concierge level of service to our customers. Some of you might be familiar with the Takahashi system chart. Those system charts do not have millimeter measurements or thread sizes on them. That is not to hide that information. That is because I've been told on several occasions by the staff at the factory that we are to provide a concierge level of service to the customers, which includes telling them directly how to use the telescopes and how to connect them to different cameras, and so that they can best be used for visual astronomy or for astrophotography. All of the telescopes are designed as tools. We have 2 product lines. One is a visual telescope product line. Everything about those telescopes is based around the way the human eye sees, and they're designed to provide the most pleasing and detailed view possible for that kind of telescope. And then we have a line of astrograph telescopes that is designed to literally defeat modern astronomy cameras. As time has gone on, those cameras have become larger and larger in terms of sensor size, and then they have become smaller and smaller in terms of pixel size. So we have several products that are designed to produce spot sizes that are smaller than the pixel sizes of the cameras. And I'm certainly happy to answer all of your questions about those things. But anyway, getting back to the system charts, the factory feels very strongly that customers should not have to use a millimeter ruler and a calculator to enjoy their telescopes. So the reason that I have a job is to help the customers and help the dealers, help the customers answer those questions. Anyway, I'm here to answer your questions, and I thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. It's good. It's good to have you. I mean, we spoke at length at the NEAF and NEAC, and also last night on the telephone. And you definitely relayed a lot of information that I was actually, I guess, either misled or misinformed about Takahashi. And Chris set me straight. I'll tell you that. It almost turned out to be a sales call because I was like, all right, maybe I'll sell my AP2 and buy a Takahashi. But I mean, they're unbelievable. For those of you, I know there's a bunch of people out there that do have the Takahashis, one line or another out in the chat. If you have any other questions, any questions at all for Chris while he's here, just throw them in the chat. I'll definitely relay those, or Eric and Dave are also looking at the chat as well. So appreciate having you, Chris. What's new over in Takahashi land? I mean, what would you like to tell us? Because there's a lot of people that may be misled or misunderstood like I was regarding what the scopes are capable of.
Yeah. Well, the newest thing that we have is,
and he's going to pull one up right now. One of his 9 scopes.
I have more than that, actually.
Oh, all right.
We're not going to talk about it. I have a Takahashi problem, certainly. This is the new FCT65D telescope. This one does have the 0.65 fluorite FU reducer. When you put the reducer into this telescope, it threads internally into the body of the telescope, so it does not make the telescope larger. This operates at f3.8 at 250 millimeters of focal length. This is probably the highest performance small astrograph on the market. It has spot sizes on axis that are less than 1 micron across. It is carefully tuned so that at 45 millimeters off axis, it has spot sizes that are 3.76 microns. So this telescope has spot sizes across the entire image circle that are smaller than the pixel sizes of any camera that you might want to combine it with, provided that the camera is not larger than full frame. So this is a dedicated full frame astrograph.
That's
so this is the newest thing.
just in case you didn't hear or were just sneezing or something when he said it, that is actually a fluorite reducer, which is one of a kind, if I'm not mistaken. Not many people make their reducers with fluoride coated glass, as far as I know.
They are actually fluorite lens elements and not just fluorite coatings. All the telescopes have fluorite-based coatings, actually. But yes, this is the first time a telescope manufacturer has used fluorite in a reducer, as far as I am aware, and that is also the factory's belief. The truth is this telescope has been in the design stage for about 3 years. We asked several years, so Takahashi has been on a kind of a mission, if you will. We realized several years ago that every time a new camera was introduced, it tended to have a larger and larger sensor, and every time that happened, they had smaller and smaller pixels. Some of our older telescopes that have been around for a long time, like the FSQ-106 telescope, that is a design from 25 years ago. It was literally designed at a time when people used 35 millimeter film cameras to take pictures of space. At the time, you could get 2 brands of popular film, Kodak and Fuji, and those films had 9 micron grain sizes or 11 micron grain sizes. The very first cameras that were CCD cameras that were introduced for astrophotography, like the SPIG KF8300, the 18604 sensors, those had 9 micron pixels because they were designed to emulate the way that the previous 35 millimeter film cameras worked. So the older FSQ-106 design is actually optimized for the 9 micron pixel size. And over time, that telescope has become more and more incompatible with modern cameras as the pixel sizes became smaller and smaller. So essentially, we needed to create telescopes and accessories that could stay at the leading edge of optical technology to allow us to fully utilize what modern cameras were capable of. So we did a lot of things. The first thing that we did, we created a telescope called the FSQ-130 telescope, which on axis has 2 micron spot sizes. Spot size is the convergence of red, blue, and green light into a single point. That's a 5-element Petzval design. Unfortunately, that telescope was incredibly difficult to manufacture and incredibly difficult to maintain over time. So it had a production run that was about 4 years long, and then we ended that, and we made some changes to the other telescopes. So we updated the Epsilon 160 telescope to have spot sizes that were below 3 microns across a 45 millimeter image circle. We updated the Epsilon 130 telescope to have the same kind of performance, but for smaller cameras. So the Epsilon 130 provides the same spot sizes as the larger 160, but the problem is the fall off in performance from on axis to 45 millimeters off axis is greater than it should be because the aperture of the telescope is smaller. So it actually falls away to about 5 microns at 45 millimeters off axis. But that's not a problem because we tend to recommend people use APS-C size cameras with the smaller Epsilon 130 telescope. After that, we took the TOA series, both the TOA 130 and the TOA 150, and we updated them with a new dedicated flattener, and at the same time discontinued the previous flattener, the 67 flattener. The 67 flattener was literally designed for the Pentax 6x7 film camera. That flattener lowers the resolution of the TOA 130 and 150 telescope to best match up with that older film camera. But that is not what we need to do in terms of modern cameras. So the new TOA, well, I say new, it's been about 3 years now that it's come on the market. The new TOA 645 flattener on the TOA 130 telescope has spot sizes that are less than 1 micron across on axis, less than 2 microns across at 26 millimeters off axis, less than 3 microns across at 45 millimeters off axis. And that system stays fully illuminated and fully corrected to below 5 microns, all the way out to a 60 millimeter image circle.
Wow.
So TOA 130s and 150s outperform every camera that you can buy. And it does not matter the sensor size.
Wow.
So you can put full frame cameras, medium format cameras, and even larger 60 millimeter research cameras on them, which some companies do still special make for universities and things like that. So that is a super high performance astrograph, and it does produce the highest resolution possible, which means that the telescope no longer stands in the way of your camera. So all of the resolution that your camera can produce, you can achieve that now with those telescope designs. The problem is that system operates at f7.7, and I'm going to use 3 different examples. Epsilon 160 telescope is f3.3. I can take a really great photo of the Horsehead Nebula in about 3 hours using 10-minute exposures. If I wanted to recreate that photo with the FSQ series telescope, which is natively an f5 telescope, I need about double the time because it's 2 f-stops lower. And so I need about 6 hours worth of time. But if I wanted to create a photo that was more detailed, I can do that with the TOA 130. But because it's f7.7, almost f8, I really need between 10 and 12 hours to accomplish the same thing, but at a higher level of resolution.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of that. I know I'm really kind of talking, so
it's okay. It's good.
No, it's good.
These are the things we want to learn about.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So I have for several years, before I came to work for Takahashi, I really was kind of a Takahashi fanboy. I had started collecting these telescopes because I liked looking through them and I liked using them for photography and everything. So I'd use a variety of different older Takahashi telescopes to take photos of the Trifid Nebula over the course of several years. Okay. The Trifid Nebula has a red portion and a blue portion. It is both a reflection nebula and an emission nebula, and it has a dark dust X in the front of that. Okay. If you zoom into the center of that X that crosses the red and blue portion, you will see in a lot of photos what looks like 2 egg-shaped stars, or a egg-shaped star on one side and a triangle-shaped star on the other side. Those stars are actually triple star systems, and they're not able to be resolved by a lot of telescopes because the spot sizes are not small enough to take advantage of what your camera can do. So the very first time that I used TOA 130 with the TO 645 flattener, in the very first 10-minute sub exposure in hydrogen alpha, all of those stars were resolved, and you could see them as individual pinpoint stars and not just globs of stars.
Right.
And I have those photos on my computer. So if anybody is interested in them, they can send me an email at work, and I'm happy to share those photos with them. So it is immediately apparent the optical performance of the TOA 130 plus the TOA 645 flattener over the previous FSQ 106 telescopes. And so that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to stay at the forefront of that optical technology, whether it's you're going to use the telescope for photography or you're going to use the telescope for visual astronomy. All of the telescopes are literally designed as tools. We have a team of 5 optical engineers headed by a fellow named Toshi. And they're really, really good at what they do. And the best part about this job is that I feel like we're one of the only companies that provides consumers with all of the technical information that they need in order to properly match up a telescope to a camera. So a big part of my job is you call in and say, hey, I have this camera. What Takahashi telescopes work best with this camera? Or I have this Takahashi telescope. What are my options for cameras? And because the factory designs all of these as tools, and we have all of the technical information at our fingertips, we're able to make those recommendations so that people can have good quality, very repeatable results. And so that is a little bit about the ethos of the design behind the visual and the photographic instruments. Anyway, I'm ready to listen to your question.
Yeah, we do have a couple of questions here. The first question is from David Bennett.
Barnett.
Do Takahashi refractors use steel or aluminum cells? If they use steel cells, can they be stored long-term in an observatory, or do they need to be stored in a climate-controlled space?
No, all of the Takahashi telescopes are actually handmade at our factory in Japan. The focuser bodies are castings, which are iron-based castings. They really don't change size very much. We continue to service and repair customers' telescopes that are sometimes more than 30 years old. So
wow,
you really don't have to worry about your telescope breaking down over time or anything like that. The telescopes are designed in such a way so that, the focusers have little bitty grub screws all around the perimeter of the aluminum draw tube. Those grub screws are stainless steel, and they're tipped with Delrin. So part of our collimation process when the telescopes arrive to us in the United States is, well, first of all of the telescopes are built at the factory in Japan, assembled by hand. They are shipped over to us on a container shipment. They are then put on a truck and driven the rest of the way to Houston. That whole time frame for them to leave Tokyo and arrive to us in Houston is about 1 month. By the time that the telescopes arrive to us, they have been shaken around on either a boat or a truck for a whole month. And we unpack every single telescope. We have a replica of the optical bench that the factory has and that they recreated for us about 30 years ago. We currently employ 2 Takahashi master technicians, Darren Lure, who's had that job for 30 years, and our new fellow, David Tung, who has just been certified as the newest Takahashi master technician. Both of them had to live in Japan and work at the factory to complete their apprenticeships. David Tung's apprenticeship was 2.5 years long, plus 2 months working at the factory. We do everything at the shop in Houston in exactly the same way as they do at the factory in Japan. So we unpack every single telescope. It goes back on an optical bench. It is checked for quality. It is checked for collimation. It is recollimated if necessary using the same methods as they do at the factory. We repack them in the triple box packaging, and we place them on shelves with either the dealer's names or a customer hold shelf. We drop ship all of the telescopes, second day air, to the end customer almost directly. I'm going to say we do that about 95% of the time. There's a couple of times when we ship them to dealers and then dealers ship them to other places. But it really is our preference to ship telescopes out to customers directly Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, so that they arrive to those customers Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and we don't have to worry about them being held on a UPS truck or in a UPS facility over the weekend or anything like that. We really, really do want you to receive the best quality telescope in the best condition possible. And everything about the Takahashi telescope is built to last. So those Delrin tips are removable and replaceable. Part of our collimation procedure is to check that the draw tube moves orthogonally to the lens elements, and thus is perpendicular to your camera sensor. And we check that in the focuser in travel, at the middle point, and at the out point. So there's a lot of things that go along with us trying to have a telescope that lasts for a very long time and is serviceable for a very long time.
Now you said the focusers are cast iron.
They're a casting that has an iron base. Yeah.
Okay. And I take it they are specially coated to resist oxidation.
Yes, sir. They're an alloy for sure. And I'm not exactly sure what the alloy is because the factory's never told me the exact composition of the alloy. But this is my FCT-76 telescope. This telescope is from 1998. It is production model 21 from that year. This is one of the very rarest of all the Takahashi telescopes. But you can see that this telescope was used by a customer for more than, for like 20 years. And then after that customer passed away, I purchased it from their estate. I had this telescope cleaned up by our shop, and then I sent it back to Japan so that they could do a little more work. They made me a custom longer dew shield than the original version. And they sent this telescope back to me. And I've been using this telescope for the last couple of months since it was returned. It is a fantastic instrument. This is a fluorite triplet at 76 millimeter.
Nice. Dave actually wants a little clarification on his question. He was you were talking about the focuser. He was actually more worried about the lens cell and any oxidation that may occur that some manufacturers warn about.
I'm not 100% sure about that question. So what is the
So he was talking
corrosion?
about the lens cell. Is it made from steel or aluminum?
The lens cell is steel.
It's steel.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And they have stainless adjusting screws.
Gotcha. So it doesn't look
And
like there's an issue there.
No. Like I said, we've literally had people with Takahashi telescopes in domes in their backyard or in other kind of obscure places for 30 years. And when we receive those telescopes back for service, the majority of the time it's just to be cleaned and to have the little Delrin tips replaced, things like that. So there's the coatings on the telescopes are very, very robust. And I do want to take a second to address that as well. Takahashi pioneered the use of fluorite lenses in telescopes. We were probably the very first companies to start to do that. When we did that 30 years ago, fluorite lens elements did not have hydrophobic coatings that would repel water. Fluorite lens element is a fluorine crystal, so it's a salt, and it will certainly absorb moisture out of the air if left unprotected. So the very earliest Takahashi telescopes had the fluorite lens elements on the inside of the telescope. That was purposefully done to protect them from moisture and heat and things like that. Because if you take a fluorite lens that is uncoated and you drop it into a bowl of water, in about 2 weeks, you'll have a bowl of brown sugar because the lens will completely just deteriorate. Of course, that's not a way to make a telescope that lasts for a long time. So all of the lenses for Takahashi telescopes are produced for us by the Canon Camera Corporations. They have an optical OEM optical division that does that for us. All of the lenses are made to our specifications. And about 5 years after we introduced fluorite lenses for the use in telescopes, we, in partnership with Canon, developed the hydrophobic hard coating technologies for fluorite lenses, right? That allowed us to move the fluorite lens from inside of the telescope to the outside of the telescope to be used as the objective lens. When you have a fluorite objective lens, you can have a lens that has much lower light scatter and much better color correction. And we can talk a little bit about the kind of the design elements of the visual telescopes versus the astrograph telescopes, because it's really interesting. Takahashi really does work hard to So all Takahashi telescopes are billed as apochromatic telescopes, from the smallest ones to some of the largest and most expensive ones. The way that we do that is, it turns out it's actually pretty easy to fool the human eye into apochromatic performance. We have a fluorite lens element. We have a Takahashi Eco Glass lens element. The Eco Glass lens element is our proprietary formulation of FPL51. Those two pieces of those two lenses have very, very different refractive indexes. We can much more steeply converge and light into a single point. If you look at a lot of the visual telescopes, you'll notice that they have some pretty crazy focal lengths. So like this FCT65 that I was just holding up, that telescope has 487 millimeters of focal length. Why would you build a telescope that has 487 millimeters of focal length? Most people would build a 450 millimeter telescope or a 500 millimeter telescope. But what we do is we use the two very different lens elements that have very different refractive indexes. We space them further apart than they should be, because almost every Takahashi design, except for the TSA 120 and the TSA 102, are wide airspace designs and not close airspace designs. And so we begin to converge light together more steeply because we have these two different lenses with very, very different refractive indexes. But the additional tube length allows us to further refine the color performance of the telescope. And that's important. And that's why we have telescopes that have kind of odd focal lengths, is because we're working really hard to more fully converge red, blue, and green light. Because on a technical level, scientifically speaking, the three primary colors of light, red, blue, and green, have different physical wavelengths. And in most companies' doublet telescope, you cannot combine red, blue, and green into a single point at one time, because you can't get them into focus at one time, right?
Right.
So you can get red and blue, but not green, or blue and green, but not red into focus. Well, we've bent those rules a little bit by using really esoteric lens materials and that additional tube length. I hope that helps to explain a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But I'm ready for the next question.
Mark Helton has a question. He said, can Chris talk a little bit about the TAC mirror telescopes, for example, the 130D astrograph, just in general, on that as compared to the refractors that you make?
Certainly. Kind of the benefit of a mirror telescope is that they tend to not have chromatic aberration. The Epsilon series telescopes have two extremely high quality mirrors in them. There is no corrector plate, so there's nothing to knock down your brightness or your color. Light just reflects back and forth off of these extremely smooth mirrors. Those mirrors are so hard to make that we have two guys at the factory that have done that for the last 30 years. They are charged with making 15 matched sets of mirrors per month. So the maximum amount of telescope mirrors that we can produce over the course of a month is 30. So all of the reflector telescopes are made in a round-robin fashion. We build some Epsilon 130s, we build some Epsilon 160s, we build some Epsilon 180s. We build Muon 180s and Muon 210s because right now CCA 250s, Muon 250s, and Muon 300s are not in production. But there's some exciting news about that. Those will be coming back pretty soon. We have a very exciting new partnership with Prima Luce Labs, and we're working together to bring those telescopes back to market using their Asato focuser.
Yep.
Nice.
Nice.
Well, if you need a 4-inch Asato focuser, let me know, because I got one that I've been sitting on for like a year. So,
well, just so you know, the Asato 4 is a collaboration between the Takahashi factory in Japan and Prima Luce Lab in Italy.
yep.
It is designed to replicate all of the physical dimensions of the FSQ-106 focuser and allows you to reuse all of the original accessories because it's the same length, it's the same physical dimensions and everything like that. A lot of people don't know, but the focuser body of the FSQ-106 telescope is the same central section of the focuser body of the TOA 130 telescope. So the Asato 4 also has an adapter ring for the TOA 130, and that works beautifully. It really, really does. We have a lot of customers who have that combination and are really, really enjoying that particular TOA 130, TOA 645 flattener, and Asato 4 and Arco 3. But I'm not going to promise anything from Prima Luce Lab, but we're also working on some other, perhaps a bigger Arco rotator.
Yeah.
To go along with that.
Yep.
Wow.
It's going to be an interesting
it's
time for
exciting stuff.
Takahashi. It's a nice collaboration you got going on there with Prima Luce. You're a Takahashi fanboy. I'm definitely the Prima Luce fanboy. I got my 6Ep10 coming. I got my 5 Eagle XTM. I got my 4 Pro over here that's going to a remote observatory somewhere. And you know, it's you know, I told Tom the other day that I got this 9 1/4. I was telling you the other day, I got this 9 1/4 just sitting here, like waiting to start taking pictures, 9 1/4 edge, and it's just gonna end up. I'm gonna get it all Prima Luce out for Neef, I think, and it's gonna look like, you know, Prima Luce just threw up all over it, you know. So, but it's gonna be interesting.
So to get back a little bit to the,
I think Kevin
telescope.
has.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, sorry. Kevin also, I'm not sure if we asked this question.
We didn't.
Kevin
yet.
had a question about how large is the CFZ and how are changes in temperature and focus handled?
For which telescope?
Yeah, I just asked him because the for those of you who know what the CFZ is, it's a critical focus zone that but that changes with focal length, so it gets shorter as you get longer. So I mean,
so I don't know which telescope.
So he did follow that up with a statement. Where was it? Where is it? The newer designs with the small spot sizes that you were talking about.
So yes, you're right about that. And I'm going to go back to the epsilons for just 1 second. So there's 3 epsilon telescopes. There's a 160 millimeter, there's a 130 millimeter, and there's a 180 millimeter. Out of the 3 telescopes, the Epsilon 160 is the sharpest telescope overall because it maintains spot sizes that are below 3 microns across a 45 millimeter image circle. So it's an ideal pairing for your full frame camera with 3.76 micron, or perhaps 2.94 micron pixels. The smaller Epsilon 130 has the same level of performance, but just a smaller image circle. And the reason is because the telescope only has 130 millimeters of aperture. Mm-hmm. So the fall off in performance is a little bit steeper. So I would certainly pair Epsilon 130 with the APS-C sensor and not with a full frame sensor, because you can run into some of the problems that other people have seen with the incompatibility of the spot sizes versus the pixel sizes of the telescope. And if you really want to maintain the best overall photo quality using the Epsilon 130, certainly the APS-C size, which is like the 2600 camera from ZWO, and the Epsilon 180 telescope has not been updated. It does not have the newer adjusters for the primary mirror. It has a smaller 40 millimeter image circle. Really, the only advantage to Epsilon 180 is that it operates at a little bit faster focal ratio. It is f2.8 instead of f3.3 like the Epsilon 130 telescope and the Epsilon 160 telescope. All of the telescopes are incredibly sensitive to collimation, and we produce a specific set of tools to allow the customers to collimate them. But those telescopes are collimated at the factory before they're shipped to us. They're recollimated every time once they're arrived to us, and we shellac the adjusters in place. So people who don't handle their Epsilon telescope roughly can expect for it to image well for 2 years unless you drop it or run it into a door or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is, because that was going to be personally one of my questions is how well do the Epsilons hold their collimation, coming from the factory or when they're shipped to the end user. But you explained this very well that they are collimated, of course, at the factory in Japan. When they're recollimated here in the States, and then they're shellacked, the collimation screws are shellacked, and they usually can hold their, and it's normally would hold their collimation on an average of 2 years. That's pretty incredible, especially if you don't bump into it, if it's just sitting on your mount like forever, so you don't have to worry about it anymore.
I have an Epsilon 160 and an Epsilon 130, and there's actually an Epsilon 180 telescope sitting on my desk in the other room right now. Out of all of those telescopes, the Epsilon 180 is a f2.8 telescope. So collimation is the most critical on that telescope. The reason I keep that telescope here at the house is because I like to, in between phone calls and things like that, I will literally sit there and practice recollimating that telescope so that I'm better at it. And when people call and ask, hey, how do I do this? Well, you know what, I've done this a lot. So I can give you, tips and tricks about that, or I can put you through to Darren or David, whose job is to do that. I have used my 130 and 160 with a couple of different aftermarket autofocusers, and they do have very narrow focus points. So it is important to use them if you can with a computerized autofocuser. However, I don't have an autofocuser on my Epsilon 180, so I tend to focus it with a Bahtinov mask. And because I am the world's laziest astrophotographer, I will focus that telescope one time at the beginning of the session, and I will let it run for 6 hours at a time without refocusing it after I've locked the draw tube in place. So the good news about the Epsilon telescopes is they don't change size a lot over the course of the night. And because I'm lucky to live in Texas where we don't have these really enormous temperature changes between the afternoon and the nighttime, I can get away with doing stuff like that. That might not be the same thing for everybody, where if you're in a place where it's 70 degrees during the day and 28 degrees at night, that's a pretty radical temperature change. But if everything goes well with the Prima Luce Lab collaboration, we will have computerized autofocusers for those telescopes as well.
Nice.
What about the CCA250? What kind of optical tube is that?
Okay, so the CCA 250, the Mulan 250 CRS, the Mulan 300 CRS, which are the ones that were current when we took them out of production. Number one, those stopped being built because Takahashi builds the telescopes, we build the mirrors. We rely on we were relying on an electronic subcomponent supplier in Tokyo, in Japan, to provide us with electronic ASCOM compliant focusers that drove the secondary mirror in all three of those telescopes. That same company also produced electronics for Takahashi mounts. So about a month after we introduced TIMA 3 mounts, that company went out of business in Japan during COVID. We have struggled to find a replacement partner because Takahashi's great at building optics and they're great at building telescope tubes, but we're not so great at building electronics. So we hope that our collaboration will solve that problem, but the truth is it may result in a small redesign of all three of those telescopes so that the focusing happens on the outside of the telescope instead of moving the secondary mirror. Like I said, I'm trying really hard not to speak for Prima Luce Lab or anything like that, but I will say that I am very excited about the things that I've seen and the information that we've shared back and forth between the two companies.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are great. I mean, Omar is a genius. I mean, that guy's so smart, way smarter than I'll ever be. But,
well, very similar to Takahashi. Their stuff is all handmade in-house.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's something to say about something that's handmade as opposed to an assembly line. So.
I agree, and Chris and I were talking last night regarding it's very similar to what astrophysics does as well. Everything's all kind of in-house, handmade, that kind of stuff. So I mean, and Takahashi Astrophysics and not many others are at that tier of that quality that we expect to have from a premium refractor or reflector. It's just amazing what just a little extra cash, right? It's only money, right? So it's only money. You can't take it with you everywhere, so you may as well buy a nice Takahashi. so yeah.
Let me make one other quick statement. So the fellow earlier had asked about Takahashi telescopes and using them the Epsilon telescopes and using them for photography. My favorite thing to do with the Epsilon telescope series is those telescopes produce extremely high contrast in photos. Okay, so they certainly like to be in the darkest place possible. But that telescope design, with its offset secondary mirror, which is purposefully offset so we can achieve better central illumination, is in my opinion one of the very best instruments for you to take dark nebula photos with, because in a lot of designs you don't have that really high level of contrast, so there's not a lot of difference between the background of space and the darkness of your dark nebula object. But using an epsilon telescope in a really dark place, it is a really, really powerful instrument to allow you to capture those things which are difficult to do in environments that might be more light polluted.
Tom Bramwell says hi. He's in the chat.
Hey, Tom, how are you doing?
He said, Chris is a special person. We really do cool things together. So,
Thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
So I got a question for you.
Stevenson has
Oh,
a
please,
question
go ahead.
too.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. Dave.
No, go ahead.
Oh,
I
okay.
can
So
wait.
Steve had a question. Steve Ibbotson has a question. I have an NJP mount. Could you tell me the imaging weight limit, please?
So when I first came to work for Takahashi about 3 years ago, I was the way too proud owner of a Mulan 300 original version, but with a carbon fiber tube. That telescope weighed 74 pounds, and I used it at the time on a original version NJP. And I took that thing to star party after star party and public event after public event. So I will say that with the right amount of counterweights, you can certainly use like 78 pounds of telescope on that mount.
Wow.
That's sweet.
All right.
So, Chris, you know where I live. You know my situation, and there isn't a number high enough on the Bortle scale to kind of fit where I live. You know, and
I disagree.
Unless if you're on the sun, I mean, you know, it's probably, with the exception of like what, Dubai and Los Angeles, I think New York City is probably the most light polluted area in that I could kind of think of. But that being said, if you were to suggest a Takahashi to someone like myself living where I live, what would you suggest? Because you were talking all about these lovely dark skies, and you know, mine looks like a
Herschel wedge.
Wait, what'd you say? Move?
Well, no. So I was trying to make a joke that you should really move into solar astronomy instead.
I would definitely do that. However, unfortunately, like most of us, I work during the day, and by the time I get home, the sun's down, or I'm just too damn tired. You know.
Yeah.
So.
I have a lot of thoughts about that, actually. So you're correct. I do believe that the three most light polluted places in the United States are Manhattan, Los Angeles, and Houston, Texas.
Oh, Houston, okay.
So Houston is also a Bortle 9 location. It's super, and there's a astronomy society there, Houston Astronomical Society, and they have a dark site that they purchased about 30 years ago, perhaps even 35 years ago. And at the time, it was a dark site. You know, it was a Bortle 2 or a Bortle 3, but over the last 30 years, Houston has really, really grown up to be one of the largest cities in the United States. And so when I came to work for Takahashi and started going to the office a lot, I was really surprised at the amount of people who live in Houston and just do pure solar astronomy, because nighttime astronomy is really not accessible for them. They have to drive hours away from the city in order to have anything. And I am super lucky. I have a Bortle 3 backyard because I live in the country outside of Austin, Texas. And then I told you that, I bought this other place in the desert that's in a Bortle 1 location, just so I could go do, good quality astronomy. And I don't think most people would go to that extreme. But what would I suggest for you in a brightly lit backyard? So we have a little bitty telescope called the FOA 60Q telescope. It's kind of 2 telescopes in one. The base telescope is a fluorite doublet telescope that is very similar to a scaled down version of the FC100DZ telescope. It has a fluorite objective lens and an Ecoglass interior lens. When you use the telescope natively, it is f8 and it's 530 millimeters of focal length. It produces the exact same field of view as a FSQ-106, which is also 530 millimeters of focal length. The telescope is really designed to be used with its 1.7 extender Q. So that adds additional lens elements to that little 60 millimeter telescope. It changes it into a 901 millimeter telescope.
Wow.
On paper,
Wow.
technically speaking, the FOA 60Q telescope is Takahashi's highest performing telescope.
Huh.
So we have this 60 millimeter telescope that is 901 millimeters of focal length. It is above 99% Strel and 11 different color channels for in excess of the range of human vision.
Wow.
It is the crispest and clearest telescope you can imagine when you use it during the day. And when you're looking at the moon and planets, it is awesome in a very, very small package. And I have one of those in my office, so I'll go grab it in just a second and bring it in here. So it is a really, really great portable instrument, but it is limited by the 60 millimeter aperture.
Yeah.
So, larger telescopes have lower limiting magnitudes. They collect more light. They allow you to see things that are dimmer in space. But if you're in a brightly lit backyard, the things that you're probably going to be looking at are the moon, the planets, and the couple of brightest nebulas. And it is the perfect instrument for that. It really, really is.
What about for astrophotography in my crap?
So there's a lot of things to consider. So let me ask you this question first.
Sure.
What camera is your preference?
I have a couple in my arsenal. I have a QHY 268, which is your APS-C. I have a smaller 585. I have a Player One Uranus C. I have another APS-C. I have a 2600 color. I also have, what else do I have? I know I have more.
It's okay.
I know I have a 294 4/3 somewhere.
Okay. So out of the cameras that you've named, the ones that are kind of the most popular, the ones that the people ask you the most questions about are the ones that are the Sony IMX based cameras. They all have the same 3.76 micron pixel size. They're available in an inch by 1 inch or APS-C or full frame or medium format if you want to spend that money. So for those cameras, the best choices of telescopes would be FCT65D with either the multi-flattener or the reducer. The BabyQ telescope, which was originally designed for APS-C sensors, and I would pair that with the new RD-QB 0.73 reducer. That reducer is designed to replace the previous 0.73 reducer, which was actually designed as a lower cost alternative reducer for the FSQ-106. The previous version really never worked very well on the BabyQ at all, and but it wasn't for the BabyQ. It's just people put it on the BabyQ. So we discontinued that option. We've come out with a new RD-QB reducer, which I feel really improves the performance of the BabyQ telescope. So the BabyQ is 85 millimeters aperture. Natively, it is 450 millimeters of focal length. It is a f5.2 telescope. With the RD-QB reducer, it is 330 millimeters of focal length. It is f3.8, and it really tightens up the off-axis performance of the telescope. So that I think is a great choice for your APS-C sensor with the 3.76 micron pixels. After that, for the same APS-C, the Epsilon 130 is a great choice. But the problem is that the Epsilon 130 has a habit of picking up stray light because it operates at a much faster optical speed. So if you have a backyard that is shielded from your neighbor's porch lights and things like that, that is a good telescope to use.
No,
but it's
I
not
don't have that.
Was you to try to shoot during the full moon because you will have like.
Well, I'm like I told you yesterday. Many people, that are, Bortle 7 or higher are usually relegated to narrowband or that kind of stuff. So the neighbor's porch doesn't bother me so much, but it could be worse. But I mean, I don't. I'll tell you about my trials some other time with telephone lines and other stuff. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm just curious because you know, I gotta ask you though. I see you pulling all these Takahashi scopes from left. How many scopes do you have from Takahashi?
Right now at the house, I think I have 9. I have 2 that are in service right now, and I have access to everything that the shop owns.
Wow.
Sure.
Which
What
one
would
is
you
your
say
favorite?
is probably your favorite?
Yeah, which one's your
one would be
favorite?
Oh, so I'm going to say this. When I'm doing visual astronomy, I almost always start off with my FLA60Q. It's on a Takahashi Tigo Lapides mount that has been out of production since, I don't know, 2012 or something like that. We actually built the Lapides modification kits ourselves here in the United States because at the time we employed a machinist named Marvin. So anyway, that is on a little bitty carbon fiber tripod right by my back door. And if I look outside and go, hey, you know, it looks like a good night, I will usually grab that telescope first and take it out, drop it down in the yard, because you can carry it with one hand, and sit in a chair and have a look around. If I'm having a good night with still air and good seeing conditions, that's when I take the time to go back into the house and drag out the larger TOA 130 telescope. Okay. I do feel that TOA 130s are special in a bunch of different ways. Number one, it's a wide airspace triplet design with all FPL glass in it. It produces very small spot sizes natively, 5 microns, and that's improved when you use it with a flattener. But TOA series telescopes don't produce chromatic aberration, and they don't produce spherical aberration. I mean, literally, our technical information shows TOA 130s, TOA 150s produce 100 times lower levels of chromatic and spherical aberration than any other telescope on the market. So the TOA 130 and 150 do not have to be in focus in order to produce apochromatic or true color performance. They do it at any focus point. And that's wild because you can defocus a star and the diffraction rings break down and they never change colors. If the wind blows in front of the telescope, you'll have prismatic effects and you can see those colors change. But in typical telescopes, if you're outside of the focus point, the star is a set of diffraction rings and you can see colors that change as you get into focus until you get into the true color of that star. If you push in past the focus point, the colors diverge and they move away in the opposite direction. So if you start off with red outside and you get into focus, when you get past focus, you start off with red again and then you move into the other colors. Mm-hmm. But TOAs don't do that because there's no spherical aberration. When you look at Jupiter, you can tell that Jupiter is a sphere. And you can tell that the moons of Jupiter are also spheres. They look like marbles. They don't look like pennies stuck onto a piece of paper.
Right.
They don't have a flat two-dimensional representation. So when things get like, I really want to look at stuff, I'm usually going to go get the TOA 130 out. But I go back and forth between my property here and my property out in West Texas. And a lot of times, you know, I'm taking a visual telescope and I'm taking some astrophotography gear with me, and there's just not that much room in the car. So I do have a FC100DZ, which gets a lot of use as kind of a wide field instrument. It's 800 millimeters of focal length. It's f8. If you use it with low power eyepieces, you have a really wide, expansive view. And that's great for just kind of looking across all of the Milky Way. But if you want to use it as a planetary telescope, you know, you can bump that up with higher powered eyepieces. And I certainly do that as well. There's a lot to like about the FC100DZ because it's really great color performance. It's way less expensive than a TOA 130 or a TSA 120. Because it has a fluorite lens element and an eco glass lens element. There's only 2 lens elements in it. That telescope is really, really bright for its aperture. A lot of people compare FC100DZs to other manufacturers' 115 millimeter or 120 millimeter telescopes in terms of the brightness of the image and the color of the image. And because there's only 2 lens elements, that is another very high contrast design telescope. So space is very, very dark and the objects are bright. So it makes it easy for you to tease out little galaxies. It makes it easy for you to tease out globular clusters and see separation in those globular clusters.
Nice.
And then if I really want to see things, I go get the big Mulans.
Yeah.
Did you do that, Steve?
Now,
question?
are the Mulans maybe probably considered to be more for, because I'm assuming they're a little bit longer focal length, so they would be. So would you consider those your almost for planetary?
Yeah,
for planetary imaging and stuff like that.
Certainly. So right now we are producing Mulan 180s, which are 2,200 millimeters of focal length, and Mulan 210s, which are 2,400 millimeters of focal length. So the size or the scale of planets, when you look at them through the Mulan telescope, is really pretty much the same size. There's no, like Jupiter doesn't look way bigger in a Mulan 210 than it does over a Mulan 180, but the larger aperture does gather more light, so I feel like it's a little more colorful if you're using it. They are pretty much dedicated planetary instruments. They are miniaturized Dahl-Kirkham telescopes, so they are not Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes. Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes have a corrector plate, and most of the corrector plates in most Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes are not any kind of esoteric high-end optical glass. So when light passes through the corrector plate on other designs, you immediately lose some brightness, you immediately lose some color. I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody else's products because I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Some reflector telescopes have mirrors that are lower quality. Okay. And what that means is that the mirror itself has surface imperfections. They're wavy, they have little bumps and stuff like that in them. So in most Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes, light passes through the corrector plate, it's knocked down in color and brightness, and it hits the primary mirror. Unless that primary mirror is exceptionally smooth, the majority of the light is reflected up to the secondary mirror. But because there are surface imperfections, some of that light is spread out. And so a lot of those telescopes have a little brightness ring around planets. That light is reflected up to the secondary mirror, which is another not so great quality mirror, before it's reflected out the back of the telescope. So you actually have the corrector plate, which knocks down brightness. You have two mirrors which spread light out. I can literally look at photos taken with different Schmidt-Cassegrain telescopes versus Mulan telescopes and tell you what brand of telescopes the other telescopes are. Because I look at a lot of pictures for work. So I feel like the images, whether you're looking through those telescopes or whether you're taking photos with them, are a little bitty bit on the soft side. I do feel like Mulan telescopes are kind of dedicated planetary high magnification galaxy telescopes or lunar telescopes. All right. And they really, really excel at that. A lot of people don't know, but we have a special 2x orthoscopic Barlow for the Mulan telescopes, which is different from the reducer/flattener for that telescope. It doubles the focal length of the telescope. So a Mulan 210 goes from being a 2,400 millimeter telescope to a 4,800 millimeter telescope. That Barlow is threaded on the back to accept planetary cameras, like the pancake style planetary cameras, directly, and places them at the correct back focus distance from that lens element. If you have a mini style, like an 1 1/4 eyepiece style planetary camera, that fits inside of that Barlow and works in the same way. So a Mulan 210 weighs about 14 pounds, and it comes with a pre-aligned 7x50 viewfinder, which is actually going to be replaced by a newer version, 7.5x50 viewfinder. The back comes off of, so you can put a guide camera into it. But that's going to be a change to the Mulan series in the next two shipments, actually. That changes your 14-pound telescope into a really, really great planetary imaging platform in a compact and portable fashion.
Wow. 4,800 millimeters.
Yeah, that's wow.
That's out of control. I did see a couple of questions
and
pass
that
by.
and that for that weight as well. It's
right.
not as,
and here's
it's not as heavy.
The Barlow for that. The Barlow for that telescope is only $120.
Wow.
So if you have the Mulan 180 or a Mulan 210, we can get you a long way towards taking better quality photos of planets.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Steve Ibbotson had another question. I don't think we asked this yet. I have an old FS102. Any reason why I shouldn't use it to image the sun using a wedge? I guess he means a Herschel wedge.
No. So I viewed our last solar eclipse from my backyard, which was in the path of totality, with a FSQ-106N telescope from 2002. I used a white light solar filter for a little while, and then I took that out and swapped over to a Herschel wedge, and I had no issues. You probably do want to be a little bit careful about keeping the telescope on axis or pointed directly towards the sun, because if you have a light entering the telescope at a weird angle, you might burn some of the black paint off the inside of the telescope.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Because you will generate heat for sure.
Yeah. And there was one more question.
There was, are there any plans to expand the FCT design into larger scopes?
Okay. I'm going to let the cat out of the bag a little bit here.
I got to make you bigger for this one. So there you go.
So the factory stopped accepting orders for FSQ-106 telescopes about 8 months ago. Okay. We have newer telescope designs to replace the FSQ-106. The beginning of that is the FCT-65D. So in the next 2 shipments, we're going to receive the last 12 or 15 FSQ-106s that will ever be produced. And after that, several months after that, perhaps 9 to 12 months after that, there will be 2 new replacement telescopes in that size. At this moment, I am not allowed to tell you what they are or how they function, but I will tell you that they are higher performance designs than anything that we make currently, and that you will be very happy if you choose to wait a little while.
There you go. There's your answer.
There you go. There it is. There it is.
Good things come to those who wait.
Yep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I've been waiting 52 years for New York to be a Portal 4, and that hasn't happened.
There's gonna have to be a huge natural disaster for that to happen.
Well, I'll tell you this. I was very lucky in New York, and I was actually upstate when this happened. Do you guys remember the New York blackout?
I do.
When the whole state was out. I just happened to be in Wyndham, New York, which is upstate New York. Nice golf courses up there, Dave. And I just happened. You know what? I was young. I was like probably like 19, 20, whatever. I had my LX200 GPS with me. I said, I'm not going upstate without my telescope. I'm going upstate with my telescope. And to this day, no matter where I've been in New York State, I still have not seen the stuff that I saw out of that telescope that night from New York. It was so dark. There was nothing. I was seeing Milky Way over my head like I've never seen before. And I was able to, with my 8-inch, I was able to, M13 looked like little jewels. And it was just like these things were popping out left and right. And it was just so amazing. And to this day, anywhere in New York where I've been, I'm sorry, Matt. I know Matt Draxler's out there. He lives in like a Portal 2 area in New York. I said it beat Portal 2. I've been to Nebraska Star Party, which is a Portal 1 sky, and maybe a little bit higher, Portal 1.5 maybe. But let me tell you something. It rivaled that sky. And it was just amazing. That's probably like my best.
So what you're
saying
is that this was the first. So what you're saying, like that was the first time you ever saw in New York what it was like back in the early 1900s.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like that. I mean, it was horrible that we had no electricity, but I didn't care because I was upstate, and we were drinking by candlelight and chilling out in you know, it was a little warm. It was like 75 degrees, and you know, but it was wonderful. It was great. Best time I had with a scope was that, and it was so unexpected.
I'm gonna hop up for just a second.
Joe wanted
What was that?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go grab my FOA60 and my new baby Q, and I'll bring them in here. Just
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So.
No, so this has been some really, really cool and
Oh,
informative stuff.
he's
coming
Portal
from
4. I'm
Takahashi.
sorry. He's not Portal 2. I'm sorry. He's Portal 4. No, it's good having Chris on
But
because
still, Portal 4
you know,
is good. Yeah, it
he,
is good to have Chris on.
he's a great guy, and knows a lot of stuff, and you know, he's never been on the show before, so I said, you know, let's have him on. You know.
No, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, their scopes are so. They are
No,
pricey.
you're right, Matt. Portal 4 does not suck. So that,
Yeah,
there it is.
It does not suck.
This is my FOA60 with the extender in it. So this is the 901 millimeter configuration. It is F15. It definitely plays best with a prism diagonal. But
Nice.
really small, really portable. It breaks down into 3 pieces, so you can put it in a Pelican 1550 case. And so I carry this around in a Pelican 1550 case with 2 different diagonals and a couple of different eyepieces.
Nice.
Nice.
And this other one, Tom's gonna be mad at me because I have ASI here on this.
It's red. It's red. It's okay. It blends in.
That's right.
This is a new version Baby Q. It has a slightly longer dew shield that fits more tightly to the body than the previous versions to prevent the dew shield from wobbling around. This one does have the new RDQB reducer, which is another one of the reducers that threads internally into the telescope so that you really don't extend the overall length of the telescope.
Tom, close your eyes, Tom.
Wow.
That's nice.
That is nice.
I think that Tom is a fan of the Baby Q as well. So
No, he's just not a fan of the ASI Air. So
yeah, I know.
What's the focal length of? Yeah, he's throwing up barf.
I have an Eagle too. I just loaned it to my friend John like 2 years ago and haven't got it back.
What's the focal length of the Baby Q?
Okay, so natively, the Baby Q is 450 millimeters of focal length, and it is f5.2. Okay, so it's a relatively fast imaging platform. It is a Petzval telescope, and it comes with the stuff that you need in order to attach a camera to it, whether it's an APS-C or a full frame. Although I'm going to probably steer you towards the APS-C size camera for that particular telescope. When you use the reducer, it is f3.8 at 330 millimeters of focal length. And there is also an extender telescope extender available for that model, which is a 1.5 extender. I kind of use that as a visual accessory more than a photographic accessory, but I know a lot of people that do use Baby Qs with the 1.5 extender, and that gives you a little more than 800 millimeters of focal length. So a Baby Q telescope is a very versatile telescope. You can use it in 3 different configurations for photography, and it's also a great 85 millimeter portable visual telescope.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I know a bunch of people that have. I
Tom
know, like,
he loves his Baby Q.
Yeah, I know at least 5 or 6 people, and 3 in my club that have Baby Qs, and they all love them. They all think they're wonderful. So it's nice to have something in the 400 millimeter range that has the clarity, that the Takahashi delivers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but it's great, and it's reasonably priced for what it is. So, and that's a good thing.
Well, I'm not sure that any of our things are actually reasonably priced.
Well, you pay for the name, you pay for the quality, and that's what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said,
Yeah,
handmade.
absolutely. I mean, you're
It's a
talking
Ferrari,
handmade.
not a Corvette.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, one of the things we've been saying on the show from the Peter Meyer days when he was on, buy once, cry once. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
So how many times are you going to make the same mistake and put money good money after bad until you finally realize that all that money you paid beforehand, you're probably over what what you're getting now. So, but we all make those mistakes, and I've done it too. I mean, I've had plenty of scopes that I thought were great at the time, and they weren't to me. And until you know what you don't know, and then you start realizing and broadening your horizons and getting better and more expensive stuff. So
You're good. Doc.
Really quick, I was just on the I'm currently looking at the Takahashi America website.
Yep.
What model is the Baby Q? Is the Baby Q? Because I don't see it actually
85.
named Baby Q.
The
So.
Baby Q is the FSQ-85 telescope.
Okay.
And it's a Petzval design where the first 3 lenses control red, blue, and green light. The 4th lens element is a field flattening lens element to make it easy for you to take photos. And there's something special about FSQ telescopes that a lot of people don't know. The 4th lens element has a UV IR cut component to it. And so that makes the telescope minimize the size of background stars in your photos all on itself. So a lot of people, I feel like that's kind of secretly one of the reasons why FSQ series telescopes have been really popular for so long, even after, they started to become a little incompatible with small pixel cameras, is because you can literally just screw a camera onto the back of the telescope and take really pretty pictures of space. So I have several just full color ASI 2600 and full color ASI 6200 photos taken with just the telescope and no filters and nothing else. And those are some really exciting photos that were easy to make.
That's cool. I mean, let's see. Let's say I got I got a 400 millimeter, and then I skip all the way up to 850. So I got something. I got some room to get something in the middle. So I mean, I'm
Yeah.
You got to have the right tool for the right job, right? So
Exactly. One of the things that the factory has kind of beat into me over some time is that the idea that telescopes, generally speaking, are designed to work at their best at their native focal length. If you want to take a photo that has a wider field of view, you should probably go get a smaller telescope. If you want to take a telescope or take a photo that has more magnification, or more detail in some nebula object, you should probably go get a bigger telescope, because that's how they tend to work best. We are changing that a little bit over the last, I'm going to say the last year, especially because, we have the fluorite reducer for the FCT65. We have the new dedicated reducer for the FSQ85. There is a reducer for the 106. There is a F3 reducer for the 106. So the reason I ended up with a couple of different sizes of telescopes is because I needed these different fields of view. So I have my FCT65 at 250 millimeters of focal length. I have my Baby Q at 330 millimeters of focal length. I have Epsilon 130, 160 at 450 and 530 millimeters of focal length. I have my FSQ 106s, which I unfortunately have 3 of them. They're all not the same telescope. They're different versions of the same telescope. I have the N, which is a fluorite version, which is one of the second version of the telescopes. I have an EDX3 and I have an EDX4. Those are 530 millimeters of focal length. You can get extenders for the Epsilon series, which extend all of those telescopes by 1.5 times. There's no performance improvement with the 1.5 extender on the Epsilon 160. You just get additional focal length, but there is a pretty substantial overall improvement in spot sizes off axis with the Epsilon 130 when you use it with the 1.5 extender for the 130. Unfortunately, I do feel like the Epsilon 180 is a little bit dated at this point. So I keep it to practice with and have fun with and everything, but it's not really getting a lot of use right now. Just because it's not as optimized for small pixel cameras. It has a little bit smaller image circle than the other 2 updated telescopes. And then after that, I do jump up to the TOA 130 with the TOA 645 flattener, which is 992 millimeters of focal length when you use it with the flattener. I really don't feel that there's a advantage to having the larger TOA 150 telescope for photography. That's different when you're using it for visual astronomy. So technically speaking, the TOA 130 with the TOA 645 flattener is slightly sharper, has slightly smaller spot sizes than the larger TOA 150 telescope, because the TOA 150 starts off with spot sizes that are only 1 micron across instead of less than 1 micron across. If you use a TOA 130 and a TOA 150 with the same diagonal and the same eyepiece in your Orbital 7 backyard, there's not a lot of advantage to having the larger telescope. Because, you know, light pollution kind of stops you from seeing the things that you can see. And the TOA 130 is 1,000 millimeters of focal length. The TOA 150 is 1,100 millimeters of focal length. Where you can really tell the difference between those two telescopes is when you take them out to a Bortle 1 dark side. The larger TOA 150 has more aperture. It gathers more light. It presents a more colorful image, and it presents an image that is brighter. So it has a lower limiting magnitude and lets you see things that are dimmer in space. So I really kind of don't recommend TOA 130s or 150s over 130s for use in people's backyards. But if you have access to a Bortle 1 dark side like all of the time, then it might be worth, you know, the extra scratch that it takes to get that bigger telescope.
Right. Gotcha.
Okay.
Nice.
Do we have any more questions in there?
No, nothing right now that I can say. But Tom Peter even mentioned he used a TOA 150 from DSW in Chile for a year, and he said the data was phenomenal. So I can only imagine what's, you know, that, you know, being in those, like you're saying, in those Bortle 1 skies, like in Chile and stuff like in the mountains. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was incredible stuff.
We have a little bit of a partnership at Land, Sea, and Sky with OBSTEC. And so we build a lot of systems for customers that are transported to OBSTEC once we've had a chance to test them out. And a lot of those systems are kind of co-mounted systems with CDK-17s, PlaneWave L500s, and TOA 130s, and FSQ 106s, all on the same platform. And so the skies at OBSTEC in the Atacama Desert in Chile are phenomenal. And we send
Wilfredo was asking, are you able to tour the facility in Texas?
No, not really. So I feel like this is the biggest misconception about Takahashi overall. Takahashi telescopes are sold in a couple of different markets around the world. So our facility in Houston is the distributorship for the United States, all of South America, and all of Canada. There's Optics Interladen, which is in France. That's Takahashi Europe. There's a Takahashi distributorship in Taiwan. There's one in Australia. There is a new one in China, and then there is the Japanese domestic market. Our factory in Japan employs 44 people. There's 40 guys and 4 ladies that build all of our telescopes. And the facility is very, very small. It is not like a big building or anything like that. It is literally like a big house, if you will. So if you take the time to contact them ahead of time, sometimes they will lead you on a tour through the facility, but you can expect that that's only going to take you perhaps 30 minutes, okay? And the way to do that is usually to try to contact Ken Shinjuku, who is the manager of the Starbase Tokyo store, okay? I do believe that he will be at NEAF this year again. He was at NEAF 2 years ago with us at the booth. And he is right now working on the translation for the new Takahashi catalog. But the facility is really small. We do actual sand casting, you know, with molten metal at that facility and everything like that. So I really feel like it's their preference for people to not just drop in and say, "Hey, show me around," because they probably won't. Yu Hashimoto ran off a television crew about a week ago, so you need to plan with somebody in advance to have that happen if you really want that to happen.
Right.
What with having having so few people, you say 44 employees in Japan. What is the average time to say, as far as your supply chain, getting, a decent amount of telescopes, say baby Qs or Muse or Epsilons, because if you look at a lot of maybe resellers here or distributors, it says they're either back ordered or not in stock, things like that. So is
Right.
it something more that, you maybe want to expect sometimes, as far as getting something, what type of delays maybe sometimes, because you're getting high quality stuff. What do you think that would be like if somebody is interested in something, a Takahashi telescope?
So that is a really good question. The American market consumes about 80% of all of Takahashi's production. Okay, that 80% of production arrives to us as a shipment of about 100 telescopes every month. Sometimes it's a little bit less, and sometimes it's a little bit more. Like it might be, 94, or it might be 106 or 110, but it's never much more than that. Okay. Virtually every telescope that arrives to us is pre-sold and pre-purchased by either individual customers or dealers. Okay. So by the time that shipment shows up, it is very normal for all 100 telescopes to belong to somebody. Okay. Every now and then a dealer will cancel an order. They'll say, "Hey, I had 4 FC100 telescopes on order. Turns out I only need 3." And all of a sudden we have an extra one. So when that extra one happens, I have a list of our internal customers, and I go down the list, and whoever's first on the list gets contacted, and we say, "Hey, today's your lucky day. Your Takahashi telescope's here, and we're going to ship it to you on Tuesday, if that's okay." And usually they say that's great, and we ship the telescope to them after we've had a chance to check it for quality control and everything. Generally speaking, the wait time for most models is between 2 months and 5 months. Part of that is because it takes a month for the telescopes to arrive to us on the boat from Japan. There are certain models that go in and out of production so that we can ramp up production of other small telescopes. So like I said earlier, CCA 250s, Mulan 250s, Mulan 300s are not in production at this moment because we don't have an electronic focuser for those telescopes. So they've been producing as many Mulan 180s and Mulan 210s and Epsilon telescopes as they're able to in order to keep up with the demand. We had a sale, the second Takahashi sale in literally 10 years, that went from Thanksgiving of last year to the 1st of this year. And some of the telescope models were 25% off. We stopped building TOA 150 telescopes as part of that. The reason that we had a sale was so that we could make some space at the factory and we could raise some money to buy new machining equipment for some of the new model telescopes, because we're moving away from some of the older models into some of the newer models. So there's the new FCT65D telescopes. There are 2 updated versions of the FS60 and the FS76 telescope that came out along that same time, and also use those dedicated fluorite reducers, a special version reducer for each of those different telescopes. So if you wanted a TOA 150, I think we have 2 of them in stock. You could order one, we'll ship it to you. Today is Wednesday, so we'd prefer to ship it to you on something like Monday. However, after we get rid of those 2, it will be at least 18 months before you're able to buy a new TOA 150, because we're not going to build TOA 150s so we can build the replacements for the FSQ 106 telescope. And then because the reflector telescopes are built in round-robin fashion, it depends a little bit on what we're building at the time that you order. So You might order Epsilon 130, and hey, it's your lucky day, and we're building those right now. Well, if that's the case, those telescopes are going to arrive to us in 5 or 6 weeks, because they're going to put them on the boat. It's going to take a month for them to get here. Every now and then you say, hey, I want an Epsilon 180, and they're a little less popular, so we don't build as many or as often. So you might wait 5 months for that telescope to show up. But because we had this sale, we are pretty heavily back ordered on a lot of different things. So people who placed orders right after Thanksgiving will start to receive their telescopes in about 3 weeks. People that place their orders in December will receive their telescope in about a month and a half. And anybody who's placing an order now will probably receive a telescope January, February, March, April, perhaps in May, at the end of May.
Wow. Well, that's good to know. Thank you.
Well, it is very important to us that we don't get into a position where people are waiting years and years for their telescopes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Sure. No.
not part of our plan at all. So we try to be as
Right.
clear and as transparent. So like if you look at our website, Takahashi America, it literally says call, back order, call for availability. So when you call, you either talk to me or Marina Lure, who handles all of the import stuff. And but just so you know, there's only 4 people in the United States that are dedicated to servicing this product and answering questions and stuff like that. So you're going to talk to one of us and answer your questions and to find out your availability.
Nice.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right,
Let's see
let's
if
see
there
what we
are
got in
any other
YouTube
questions.
land. Anything going on? I see
Yeah.
Newman. Hello, Newman. Newman's in the chat. And let's see.
But as far as questions, no, I don't have any. I don't see any others from Chris here. So
All right, so you know, hey Chris, I don't know if you're interested, but I don't know if you know this, but AstroWorld has been on for now. Me and Eric have been on this crazy ride for about 6 years now, doing AstroWorld once, more so twice a week, and we've been doing a picture of the week and picture of the month and picture of the year for 3 years in a row, and people kind of drop their photos in, and it gets voted on by their peers on the website. And you know, we get pictures of the week. All the pictures of the week get nominated to go to picture of the month, and all the picture of months get nominated for picture of the year, and so on and so forth. We just rounded up our picture of the year in early December, and it was a sun mosaic from Chris Ferguson and Jeannie Gamble, and it was really nice. And we make a calendar and whatever. We roll that out every Tuesday, and I believe Eric has some that are, you know, apparently pretty good. So if you want to take a look at, I don't know if you have access to see the I think you're seeing the live right now. Do you see the 4 screens right now?
I do see 4 screens, right?
Okay, good. Yeah. So if I switch it, have you been watching it switch over to yourself by yourself?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so you'll see what Eric is showing, and you can take a look at the pictures that are up for this week, because it's gonna be, there's quite a bit apparently. It got so big that we actually had to open up an experienced bracket and a novice bracket. So we didn't kind of, the pictures were getting so good that we didn't want to kind of shoo off some people that are just trying and want to get off, so we did this. So let's see, Eric, I see you got the web page up.
Got it up.
All right,
Yep.
let me make you a little bigger. And there you go. So here's the website, and Eric, it's all yours.
all right, cool. So again, Chris. So this is our image of the week website, and for our viewers, if you're interested in submitting a photograph, you simply would go to astroworldweb.com/IOTW, starting on every Saturday. I have the link up from Saturday until Tuesday, and you can drop in your photo. And the big thing is, we always remind people, use your own equipment. No, it's nothing from, some remote site like in Chile or things like that, unless it's your actual equipment. And
Right.
so we use
Right.
a little bit of
Yeah,
our
it's,
system here.
if you're in a remote observatory and it is your equipment, you're eligible to put
You're
it.
eligible.
But it's got. There's no difference of being remote from your backyard or being remote in another state, as long as you're on equipment. You're not renting the equipment. You're not got a a CDK 17 in the middle of Spain somewhere that you're just renting time off, and you're getting it almost free because you're doing narrowband on a full moon night. So
Exactly.
so to Eric's point, we haven't had any issues, I don't think, of people kind of throwing pictures in there that shouldn't be in there. But I mean, just again, one of the rules.
Yeah, one of the rules. So here we have last week's image of the week winners for February 7th. So again, congratulations to Robert Fitzhenry for his Jellyfish Nebula and Michael Heno for his Rosette Nebula for our novice category. Now, you can the imaging poll will be open on is already open. It's open until this Friday at 9:30. So don't forget to vote. So right now, here is our first of the experience bracket. And this is, I'm actually going to
That's Boogeyman and Barnard's Loop. And
That's what it looks like.
yes. So this is M78 and the Boogeyman in Orion by Benito Robeal. So this is really, really cool stuff here. So
you know what that reminds me of?
Description.
That the middle, the Barnard's Loop part, it reminds me of the Nexus from Star Trek Generations.
oh, there you go.
Okay.
the little wavy kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Okay. So and then you can go and you can take a look at the information as far as what he used in his imaging integration time and stuff like that. Here we have a dark nebula, the Helping Hand Nebula, VD9 by Dr. Greg Meyer with his
I hate that guy.
120.
He's
just too good.
How did he hurt you?
He hurts me every time I look at his pictures because I just want to cry.
Next, we have from the southern hemisphere, but not quite. This is one of the Winter Star Party entrants. This is the Carina Nebula from Kevin Rosso when he went down to the Winter Star Party. So yeah, he was only able to get a little bit over 24 degrees over there in the Keys, but he was able to get a little bit of time for those few nights at the Winter Star Party to get at Carina. Cool. So that was very cool. We have the Dolphin Head Nebula by Jonathan Simeon. And that was with a William Optics. Yeah, and that's Sharpless 308 with a William Optics Cat 91. So those are our experienced entrants, and these are all been very good. Now for our novice, we have two novice entrants. We have a Lunar Shot, Waxing Gibbous by John Copperthorne.
Oh yeah, John Copperthorne.
Yeah. So we don't get that many planetary or lunar shots here. We get some solars, but not that many lunars or planetaries. So thank you.
You know, planetary is that kind of special kind of group.
Exactly. And from Thomas Duff, we have IC 2118, the Witch Head Nebula. Yeah, and this was also taken at the Winter Star Party. So yeah, and these are the two entrants for our novice. I had just taken that, the Witch Head. So pretty fun. That's a pretty fun shot. Excuse me, challenging too, but pretty cool.
I really do think that all those dark nebula photos are harder to take and harder to process, especially when you're doing them as RGB photos.
Oh yes,
yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, I had a lot of fun doing the Barnard Z and the Seahorse. I got a couple of photos from that from Nebraska and one from Canada. It's definitely a challenge to process. It really is, because you really want to get that dusky kind of brownish kind of stuff going on that you get from that dark nebula, but also not to lose anything in the background. It's kind of it was kind of interesting because it's kind of like each different type of nebula has their own type of workflow that you kind of gotta get used to. It's different. It's like you're not going to use the same workflow maybe from nebula to nebula, but maybe these diffuse nebulas I'm going to use close to the same thing. But this dark nebula I'm going to use this, and this galaxy I'm going to use that. So you may have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different types of workflows that you may be working with.
Like I said, those are all cool. And so we're going to publish an English version of the Japanese Takahashi catalog in the next couple of months. So the factory reached out and said, hey, you take a lot of pictures and you see a lot of pictures that the customers send in. So I said, yes. They said, so, send us some pictures that you think are good photos. So I did that. And this morning I woke up to an email from Yu Hashimoto, who's the international sales manager. And he said, hey, we want to choose this photo of NGC 1333 as the center spread for that Takahashi catalog. So I got to call my friend Juan Lopez, who lives outside of Temple, Texas, and tell him, hey, I just want to let you know, if it's okay, we would like to use your Epsilon 130 photo of NGC 1333 as the center spread for our Takahashi catalog this time around. And he was like, wow.
That's awesome.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's a fantastic
That
picture.
is.
And
Yeah, no, that's always a lot of fun when you get, I've never been picked for anything, but because I haven't taken a picture in a year. But
you gotta play to win. You gotta play the game.
I know. I'm just horrible. It's like one of those things.
You're not horrible. You're just busy.
I do. I work in the daytime. I come home and then I start wrapping packages and then I go to bed. That's what I do. Yeah. That's the land of retail, my friend.
Yeah, it is. That is.
Well, before I jump out of here, you had asked if we have new stuff, and yes, we have 3 new small telescopes. The astrograph version is the FCT65D. Takahashi discontinued MCLE and Abe eyepieces last November and replaced them with Takahashi TPL eyepieces, which are non-symmetrical Plössl eyepieces with a purposefully limited field of view. They're designed to maintain the spot sizes of some of the higher end telescopes. They're designed to have a lot of contrast. They use the same glass and the same coatings as what is in the TOA series telescopes. The previous 7x50 viewfinder is being replaced by a 7.5 viewfinder, which the back of this will unscrew and you will be able to put a planetary camera in. So if you have a Mulan 210, you'll have a built-in guide scope for that telescope.
Nice.
One of my biggest regrets, and something that I wish Takahashi had never stopped making, this is the first version of the Takahashi 11x70 finder scope. And so this is an illuminated finder scope with 70 millimeter aperture. And this one's probably about 20 years old. But this is a fluorite doublet finder scope. And I really, really wish that we had never stopped making these things because they're awesome just on their own.
Yeah. I could see, 70 millimeter doublet. Yeah, I can see that being pretty cool, even for photography on its own. So,
but I guess that's all the news I got. And if there's no other questions, I'm going to pet my dog. And I would like to go and look at space, but it is raining at my house.
I hear you. But hey, listen, Chris, it's great having you on. We'll definitely have you on again if you're more than inclined to come join us again. Maybe when you have some more news about this Prima Luce collaboration or whatever else that comes out that's new.
I feel like that's little more on Tom's job, and like I said, I'm not trying hard not to say too much about that, other than that's something that's going on in the background. I think that we'll have really good results with it, because we've already had good results with the Asato 4, and sometimes you just need a really exact electronic focuser, and that's a great, and it would be great if it didn't cost $3,400.
Yeah,
because there is another really great electronic focuser, which unfortunately is kind of steep, and it's not accessible to everybody. But
Yep.
I got one.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
You have one? Cool.
He reminds us every now and then that he has one.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
That's really
Chris,
good.
thank you so much. One thing I would like to, and Dan, we like to, definitely keep in contact with you, because very soon, the end of this year, we're going to have Astropalooza 4.
Oh yeah.
So if you are interested, which is our big marathon that we have, it's usually
our disaster.
Like a 10-hour marathon where we have a lot of different content providers and creators and astrophotographers and representatives of companies like yourself. So I'm sure Dan, if you're so inclined to joining us, I'm sure Dan can reach out to you and talk to you about that.
It's usually the first Saturday in December, sometime between noon and 9 p.m. Eastern. And we have everybody: Trevor Jones, Dylan O'Donnell, Sean Nielsen, Wayne Parker, who else? Molly Wakeling. I mean,
Sarah Matthews was on.
Sarah Matthews was on last year. I mean, we have a lot of people and a lot of content. And usually it's about 30 to 45-minute presentation on whatever you want, and that's really it. But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of content, and it ends up being a shot or two of whiskey at the end. So
you need those. You need those after that.
Absolutely.
After those. So
I didn't know if we could have a drink. So I've been waiting.
Oh, listen, the only reason why I'm not drinking my wine is that because I'm on a little bit of a diet. The doctor told me two things: nice job, you lost 3 pounds, and hurry up and you get your colonoscopy. You're late. So that's what he told me the other day. So I'm working on losing a little bit more weight. The belly's getting a little big, and I guess it's just a sign of the times. So normally Dave and I are usually drinking something together during the show. So
hey,
Dave's got the fridge right behind him.
Bring your own wine, so hey.
Yeah, but it's just water. It's basically water.
Yeah, sure.
So I don't have to go downstairs in the middle of the night.
There you go.
It's awesome. Definitely fun to come on and hang out with you. I really appreciate the invitation and everything. And just so y'all all know, anytime you need to get a hold of me, I do all the customer calls daily from 10 to about 2 Central Time. The rest of the time, I'm talking to the dealers and stuff like that. So I have kind of divisions during the day. I'm going to talk to the normal customers. I'm going to talk to the dealers. We're going to figure out where everybody's stuff is and stuff like that. But we really are there to help you, and we want to make it so that our telescopes are easy to use, and we can give you like direct information from the source with system charts and configuration charts and everything like that to make all that stuff easy for you guys to use or for customers to use. So please don't be shy, anybody. If you have a question about our stuff, just call us at the shop. Lansing and Sky, Takahashi America, they're in Houston. If you ask for Takahashi telescope question, they're going to send you to one of us 4 people. Most of the time, it's me. And like I said, that's the reason I have a job. So it's great.
Yeah.
And please do call.
Well, again, thank you so much, Chris, for your time and its information. So, and I know our viewer membership really, really appreciates it.
Yeah, they've been echoing all night. So.
So thank you. So we don't want to keep you too much longer because I know you're saying maybe walk your dog or something. But thank you again.
Hey, Chris, thanks again, man. And there you go. What's in the koozie? What's in there? Show us.
Today it is Dogfish Head 60 minute.
A 60-minute
Oh,
IPA.
There you go.
There you go.
Dogfish.
There you go. Hey.
But lately I've been, there's a kind of a local brewery called Bear King, and they have a IPA called Foggy Eyes. And so I've been enjoying that a lot lately too.
Nice.
Shiner Box big down there too.
Yeah, Shiner's not too far away from me.
All right, Chris. Well, thanks. You go enjoy that beer, man. Enjoy that beer. Thanks for coming on. You and I will talk soon, I'm sure.
Okay. Later on. Bye-bye.
Nice meeting you,
Bye-bye.
man.
Bye-bye.
All right. All right.
So yeah. So thanks again to Chris. Thanks again to everybody for your participation, your questions, all that. Really appreciate it. It keeps the chat and the flow going and everything like that. Makes time go a little bit faster for us too. So thanks for the participation.
Oh, yeah, we need to talk about two things first. Number one, really quick, John Copperthorne, I'm going to butcher his name, I'm sorry. He wants us to look at something. It's in the critique folder. He might have discovered an issue with his scope. Dropped a file on the critique of my photo about it. It's titled Frosted Lens, he said.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay, just give me just a second
and we'll take a look at that for you,
get
John.
over there, and then we can.
John, if you could tell me what you think, what I pronounced it right. I'm not even sure what I said, John. So Copperthorne. Copperthorne?
Oh, wow. So
what exactly do you think we're looking at, John? Just if you could put it in the chat.
Wow.
And there we go. And
yeah,
let's see, just a quick play.
There we go.
So, yep, there we go.
Wrong one. There we go. Yeah. Look at that.
Looks like schmutz.
Looks like, yeah, that's a very technical term, schmutz. How long has it been since you cleaned that lens? Number one, if at all. Number two, it's tough. It looks like you took it with a flash, I think, and it's really bright in the center. Is it all surface dirt, or is it something that you know? He said there's text in the folder.
Between the lenses.
Yeah. He said there's text in the folder.
Ooh. Yeah.
There is a text
folder. Take a quick look at that. If I close this here.
Good night, November, December, lost.
What does it say? I can't see it. It's too small.
Yeah, I'll read it. I had an issue one night in November or December where I lost my guide star. When I went out to see what the issue was, I discovered my Evo Guide 50 was frosted over. So I packed it in and forgot about it until the next time I went out to image. No issues finding and keeping the guide stars. Last week, I used the guide scope to image because my targets were large. Discovered this pattern on my subs, probably due to all the moonlight that night. Is there a way to fix this? Quick searches haven't seemed promising.
Well, it really depends on, like Dave was saying, is it in between the lenses or is it just on the front?
Yeah. I mean, if it frosted over, there's a chance that
it's just hard water spots.
It's just water spots, and you just got to clean that off.
And then you know what I would get, and I've been practicing for the day that I actually do some imaging, and the best way to get those spots is
you got it.
Photonic
is. Why can you take off your? There you go.
Yeah. Let me.
Photonic, baby.
Photonic. Yeah.
Why? Can you see this? I don't know why it's only stuck on Eric though.
I don't know.
All back. And share. Oh, he's
Eric's out. Eric's getting thinner.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why is? Oh, I see.
Why is it?
You turn
there it is.
There you go.
There you go.
So
there you
go. So First contact. Now with your, you can't
First
see it. It's
contact.
green. This is actually green. You could actually see through it. You know, but first contact also sells a like a water treatment for hard water spots also. This is kind of expensive, to be honest with you, but you could use this for many cleanings, and it comes with a whole bunch of stuff in the back. You got a couple of tubes. You got this is the hard water. If you have hard water, what is it? It's like a water treatment solution that you have, and it comes in with the kit. This is the, what is it called? It's a thinner. So, and there's also a water treatment kit in there too. So you can get that, and if you want, you could talk to David, and maybe we could hook you up with a discount. I don't know, but and he runs it. But I'm telling you, that stuff would be the best. But I would do it real quick, like very softly, kind of dab it with like a cotton and maybe some alcohol, and see if any of that comes up. Just dab it. Don't rub. Don't rub,
Yeah,
but
don't
just
rub, dab.
just dab it a
Dab.
little bit and see if it disappears. Yeah, well, if it might be fungus or mold, depending on how long it's been. Was it wet the whole
Been there.
time in storage where it was covered?
Mhm.
Was it a long period of time? Was it a day? Because if it's a day, I'm going to go with Dave and say it's probably just water spots. If it's a month, those water, if not evaporated, can turn into become a breeding ground for fungus and
Yeah.
bacteria. So
But as long as it's on the exterior part, not between the lenses, that first contact will pull it right off.
yep.
How about distilled water? It's been about a month or two. And to Tom's question, hey, is there a temperature recommended for cleaning? No, that I know of. Not
room
as long
temperature.
as it's not too, room temperature.
No, I mean, I wouldn't do it outside in the freezing cold, but I mean,
Yeah,
just,
or even in the heat,
Yeah.
'cause,
but that first contact stuff is awesome. You should,
some
however,
first
you
class stuff.
should be keeping this first contact stuff at room temperature. There has been situations where people didn't put the caps
and well
on.
ventilation.
What?
And hard.
Well ventilated and ventilated and
Yeah.
well ventilated, workspace.
Absolutely. Yeah. You don't want to be breathing this stuff in. This is a polymer. It's a liquid polymer. But there has been situations where people didn't put the caps on tight enough, and these nice color red turned out to be this nice white color here.
White.
And so it does tend to lose. It's still good to use, but it just doesn't look the way it should. So I would definitely pick this up. I would get the kit. This kit I bought 3 years ago, and I've done many cleanings since, and I still have. I've used one bottle. I still have 2 left, and the little, you can't see it, and the little guy right here.
It works great. You can use it on your lenses. You can use it on your filters,
mirrors, eyeglasses,
everything. Yeah.
But John, if you're gonna use distilled water on this or something, bury, just lightly wet, like maybe a cloth or like maybe a peck pad or something.
Yep.
And just go in the very center, just circles, nice little circles in it, and then go a little bit larger from the center to the outside and stuff like that. Going
and if you want to try it, you could use unscented, no fragrance, no craziness, like Dawn, just one drop. Yes. What I used to do is I used to take, and this is all it would take. I bought a gallon of distilled water.
No huffing, Tom. No huffing. No huffing that stuff.
I would get 1 gallon of distilled water, and actually I would get 2 gallons. One I would keep plain, and the other one I would put just 1 drop of Dawn, unscented, unfragranced, no polluted, just soap, and drop that in there and do what Eric said. Start in the middle, do a little circle, see if it comes out. Do a little bit more. Be very patient with it. Don't do it like you're washing your car. You know.
Exactly.
All right.
All right. Well,
Yep.
This has been a good show. So again,
Yeah.
thanks to Chris,
Yeah,
from
absolutely.
Takahashi America, for hanging out with us.
Yeah,
Pretty
he was
cool.
cool.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Good guy.
Yeah. Dave, you have any final thoughts?
Go away, snow.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. No.
For me, again, don't forget to go to the Image of the Week, and don't forget Image of the Month is still open until the 21st.
Yep.
So you can make your votes. You can cast your vote for your selection for the January 2025 Image of the Month. So don't forget to do that. And yeah, besides that, this was a really good show, really great content. Again, thanks to Chris. And yeah, we'll look. I don't know about this Friday. Maybe. I mean, we have to talk about this. Maybe we have to announce something if we are or aren't. If we're not going to, we may have to make a quick announcement on Friday. Being Valentine's Day and stuff like that, and we might want to spend some time with our wives.
Yeah, probably is a good idea, so we all don't get kicked out or divorced.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially since I got new stuff.
I just bought this house. I can't get divorced yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I cannot get divorced.
Shoot. You do that to Robin, she will kill you.
Oh, God, yeah.
Never happened.
No, never happened.
Nope.
20 years, dude. Never had to happen.
I hear you.
You got that right, Kevin.
What's that?
Kevin Rassa, divorce is more expensive than a telescope.
Yeah, it can be, I'm sure. I would not know, thank God. So
Norm says, my wife wants me to spend my nights with you guys.
Oh shoot. You know what? I'll put something in the playlist and you can just sit there and watch it and make believe, Norm. Just make believe like it's live. You won't even know the difference.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put it on like an ASMR.
Rerun the First Contact episode.
There you go. Yeah, I'll do the Dave Deason episode. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Any final thoughts, Aaron?
No, but that's all. Yeah. No, that's all I got. Just just go head over to the website. Don't forget to vote and all that stuff. And maybe we'll see you Friday. Maybe we won't.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I would give it a 70-30.
Yeah.
No.
70-30, no. Yeah. But nonetheless, you guys, everybody have a great night, and just enjoy the night, and hopefully,
absolutely.
This weather it's hitting all of us right now. At least the three of us.
Not a fan.
It's across everywhere. It's
snow or rain or clouds or whatever.
Yeah.
So
it's horrible.
Yeah. But all right, guys.
All right, everybody. Well, great night, great show. And thank you to Chris Montemayor from Takahashi America. Thank you so much for coming in and hanging out with us. And, looking forward to having you on again and hopefully coming and hanging out with us in 10 months or so with Astropalooza 4. So
hopefully he might have some big news by then.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. So so if we see you on Friday, great. If we don't see you, well, you'll see us maybe. Thanks everybody for chilling in, hanging out with us. Again, thanks to Chris, and thank you guys for another great show. Have a great night. Enjoy yourself, and remember, keep imaging, keep educating, and clear skies. And we might see you Friday. Have a good night, everybody.
See you, everyone.
All right.